Welcome. Today, we're going to deconstruct something fascinating, the invisible software that's running our lives. It's a mental model so powerful that it explains pretty much everything, from our little daily chats to our biggest life-changing decisions.
I mean, have you ever stopped to wonder why we do the things we do? Why do we make friends? Why do we compete for a promotion? Or why do we team up with people to build something totally new? It all feels so complicated, right? But what if? What if it all boils down to just a few surprisingly simple rules?
I want you to imagine for a second that every single interaction you have with your boss, your partner, even a stranger, is governed by a secret rule book. It's kind of like a user manual for the human brain that once you get it, gives you the keys to navigate your entire social world way more effectively.
Okay, so in this first part, we're going to crack open that rulebook, and we're going to reveal the single most important principle behind every single exchange you will ever make in your life.
So the first rule is this: everything is an exchange of resources. And when I say resources, please don't just think about money. We've got to think way bigger. Your time, that's a resource. The attention you're giving me right now, that's a resource. Your skills, your information, even your trust and your emotions. These are all valuable assets we are trading, all day, every day.
And really, every interaction you have falls into one of these three buckets. You've got a simple exchange, you trade your work for a paycheck. Then there's synergy, which is where the magic happens. It's when you and someone else combine your skills to create something that neither of you could have made alone. That's that whole 1 + 1 = 3 idea. And finally, you have competition. That's what happens anytime a bunch of people want the same limited thing, whether it's a job, a client, or a parking spot.
So if life is just this constant exchange of resources, how in the world does our brain decide what's a good deal and what isn't? Well, get this. It's running a secret, super fast calculator in the background, 24/7.
And no, that's not just a metaphor. Psychologists actually call this social exchange theory, and it's based on a really simple idea. Our subconscious mind is always running a cost-benefit analysis for almost every social move we make.
The very first part of this mental math is the reward. This is everything good we think we might get out of an interaction. We're talking money, respect, information, a feeling of security, or hey, even just feeling good about ourselves. It's the brain's what's in it for me calculation.
But then, of course, the brain immediately subtracts the cost. This is what we have to give up to get the reward. It could be our time, our energy, our money, or it could be taking an emotional risk, like asking someone out. Every single reward has a price tag attached.
And there you have it. Reward minus cost equals the outcome. Your brain does this simple math in a split second to figure out if an interaction is likely to be positive and worth doing, or negative and something you should probably avoid.
This quote just sums it up perfectly. Our brain is this relentless calculation machine, constantly weighing the pros and cons to guide our social behavior, whether that pushes us toward cooperation and love, or competition and pulling away.
Okay, now this is where it gets really, really interesting. Our feelings, our emotions, they aren't actually generated by the outcome itself. No, they're generated by the gap between that outcome and what we expected was going to happen. And this table just lays it out so clearly. When the outcome turns out to be better than you expected, boom, you get a rush of happiness, excitement. But when it's worse than you expected, that's where disappointment and sadness come from. And if the outcome is flat out negative, meaning the cost was way bigger than the reward, your brain's alarm system goes off, creating fear, anxiety, and stress. So now we can take all of these pieces, the resources, the calculations, the emotions, and we can put them together into one complete model. This is what we're calling the human operating system.
This is the whole shebang, running in a continuous loop. It all starts with our core needs. Then our brain evaluates the options. We take action, and we exchange our capital, like our time and energy. We get an outcome, and that creates an emotion. And here's the crucial part. We gain insight from that experience, which upgrades our internal OS for the next time around. This loop is literally the engine of all human learning and growth.
Now, the gas that makes this engine run is dopamine. And let's clear up a huge misconception. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical, it's the motivation chemical. Dopamine is the thing that gets you off the couch to go chase the reward in the first place, and it fires up based on your expectation of a good outcome.
And on the flip side of that coin, you have the amygdala. Think of it as your brain's internal alarm system. It's the aversion engine.
When that subconscious calculation shows the cost, or the risk is just too high, or the outcome looks negative, the amygdala lights up and it triggers feelings like fear and anxiety to get you to back away from the threat.
So, great. What do we do with all this? Well, understanding this operating system isn't just some neat theory. It's actually the key to developing an incredibly powerful meta skill, what we can call strategic interaction.
And here's the 80-20 on mastering this. It really just comes down to these 4 things. First, you got to learn to read people, to understand what they secretly need and what they're afraid of. That's their reward and aversion system. Second, you learn to frame your messages to appeal to those drivers. Third, you get a handle on your own emotions by managing your expectations. And finally, you use all this knowledge to create win-win situations where everybody involved feels like they got a positive outcome.
All right, to wrap this all up, let's give you your very first system upgrade. This is a simple, actionable tool to help you start consciously running this operating system, instead of just letting it run you on autopilot.
Here it is, a 10-step checklist to run through before you make any big decision. It literally walks you through the entire human OS loop. See, the first few steps are about your foundation. What do you really need? What's your vision? Who are you trying to become? Then you evaluate. What's your ideal outcome? What are the risks? And what's your emotional state right now? And finally, you move to action and review. What's the tiniest first step I can take? And afterward, what did I learn from how it all went down? Using this process consciously leads to so many better, more strategic decisions.
Because ultimately what this human operating system really shows us is that the quality of your life depends directly on the quality of the interactions you create. When you understand the rules of a game, you can start being the architect of better exchanges, better relationships, and, well, a better life.
So I'll leave you with one final question to think about. Now that you have this model, what is the very first interaction in your life that you're going to upgrade? Thanks so much for diving in with me.